Tom Perriello, just crazy and playing both sides of the fence, pretending he was weighing different issues. Oh, I'm not really sure where I come down on abortion. I'm a Catholic. You know, such a fraud, such a phony, but truly a minion of George Soros. In the work that he's done, it's proven that he's a far leftist extremist. He just tries to come off as a moderate. So I told you we had a new lefty. Let's go back in history just a bit before we jump in here. We had, going back to the Tom Perriello days, Lefty O'Neill. I think his name was Brian, but we called him Lefty because back then the paper wasn't quite so hard left as it is now. It was pretty hard left, but now it's ridiculous. It's literally a communist propaganda rag. And he was very favorable towards Tom Perriello. We had a story called Lefty Loves Tom, and covering his coverage of Tom Perriello's campaign and then his tenure as 5th District Congressman, short and brief as it was, thankfully, but devastating as it was, because he was the deciding vote for Obamacare. He brought that horrible thing upon this country. He's responsible for it, and everybody should know that. So we had Lefty O'Neill. He took off, went to greener pastures. I don't know whatever became of Lefty O'Neill, but we had a good time with Lefty. Then we had Lefty Velasquez, who's still around, I think. Lefty Velasquez was even harder left than Lefty O'Neill. Now we have Lefty Lurdo. Eli Lurdo, Lefty Lurdo. They brought on two lefties, and I'm not quite sure what the difference is between Lefty Velasquez and Lefty Lurdo, but this story is by Lefty Lurdo, so we're going to spend some time with Lefty Lurdo today. And I was just reading the story, and I'm like, gosh, he's really restraining himself. And then all of a sudden, there's a bomb of a paragraph in the middle, which we're going to get to right now. Socialists surprise Perriello campaign at Postal Service rally in Charlottesville. Now, let's stop right there. Perriello should never be surprised when socialists show up because he's a socialist. Don't believe all of his middle-of-the-road talk. It's all lies. When it comes down to it, he's a socialist, and everybody who knows him and knows what his record is knows that's true. So already, Lefty Lurdo is spinning tales. When Tom Perriello arrived in downtown Charlottesville Tuesday morning for a rally in support of mail-in voting, so we already know there's a problem. That's certainly a socialist thing. Mail-in voting, yes, of course, because that enables a lot of cheating. And a scheme by the Democrats. Mail-in voting, this is what the socialists want. But let's continue. And he was also supporting U.S. Postal Service funding. That would be Perriello. He certainly wasn't expecting the overwhelming presence of members of the Democrat Socialists of America, the DSA. Well, if he wasn't expecting them, he shouldn't have been surprised because they are a part of this community. In fact, they are represented on the Charlottesville City Council by at least one member. That would be Michael Payne. And there may be others who just don't wear it as a badge of honor. I wouldn't be surprised. Campaign staffers for the Democrat, Lefty Lurdo says, were noticeably taken aback. Well, maybe they just didn't like the optics, and I think that's what happened. Of the roughly 24 gathered outside the post office on the mall, half were wearing DSA shirts, holding DSA signs, and carrying a DSA flag. So they were fully dressed up to let everybody know who they were and that they were present for Tom Perriello. Perriello demanded in his address Congress to do more to protect mail-in ballots. Yeah, right, to protect the cheating scheme the Democrats have rigged with mail-in ballots and shore up the cash-strapped UPS. The UPS needs a kick in the butt, not more cash. And so far you're saying, well, it's not so bad. Well, let's continue. This is where the story gets really weird. The press gathered after the rally to speak with the candidate, that would be Perriello. Campaign staff began to request that all cameras be redirected away from the Democrat Socialists of America who were behind Perriello, citing issues with lighting. What the heck? Are you serious? They'd say take your cameras off because of lighting? Whose business is that of the campaign? But we've seen this sort of behavior out of the Perriello campaign in the past, telling people they couldn't carry signs in, trying to control the messaging and so forth. They're very strange like that, but this is obvious. But lighting was not their primary concern when the same staff also asked the press not to publish any photos or videos of Perriello with DSA members. Now that's a serious problem. Perriello's campaign staff asked the press not to publish photos or videos of Perriello with DSA members. Of the 4 outlets in attendance, 2 obliged. Neither CBS 19 or CVille Right Now published any evidence of the DSA's presence at the rally. 29 News did run video of Perriello with DSA members behind him, but did not include any reference to the party or its presence. That's weird. That's strange. There's something drastically the matter. Let's say the Proud Boys showed up for a John McGuire rally. Do you think that they would be ignored? And if John McGuire's campaign staff said, hey, don't put any pictures of the Proud Boys or whatever other group you could insert there, that would be the front page story. And it would be covered by all of those outlets. They wouldn't even have to say that. They would just be the presence of the Proud Boys at some Republican's event, let's just say McGuire's event, that would make news and maybe news across the nation. This is so strange, but not really. When the daily newspaper, Lefty Lurdo says, inquired about the presence of the DSA at the rally and Perriello's relationship with that party, the candidate was evasive. We were here, well, I could just hear this guy tap dancing. He's very good at that, Perriello. We were here with the postal workers, both current and retired. Now listen to where he goes here. They've been such an important part of the community. They run the largest food drive across here in the valley. So he's really going like redirect mode. I've been able to work with them in the office and out of the office. When the daily newspaper reached back out to the campaign regarding the DSA presence, they emphasized that Perriello is not affiliated or associated with the DSA. The incident underscores the rift between traditional Democrats, which Perriello is not a traditional Democrat, he only pretends to be one when it suits him, and leftists with whom they caucus at a time when the whole of the left is working to present a unified front. Now, this is an interesting take because the Democrat Party has been completely co-opted by leftists. That's who's running the party now. They're in charge. And there are very few people who are left who actually say, I'm a traditional Democrat, I might be pro-Second Amendment. Where are those? I'm pro-life. Where are those? They used to exist. There used to be quite a few of them, not so long ago. They are completely gone. They've been kicked out or have left voluntarily. So this whole thing is a charade that Lefty Lurdo is painting. That Tom Perriello is a traditional Democrat, that's a total lie. The divide between the Democrats and the Democrat Socialists is seen by some as a weakness heading into this year's midterm elections. The threat to traditional Democrats, by the way, Lefty, they don't really exist anymore, is real. The Democrat Socialists have challenged more moderate Democrats, and they are not all that moderate. They're far to the left. They're just not naming themselves socialists, even though they are. Now, this is where we go off the rails, hard to the left. This is why I'm calling him Lefty Lurdo from now on. Listen to this. Perriello does not face any challenger from the left in his own primary. He's currently considered the frontrunner in a race that includes two others. Listen carefully now. Louisa County-based political writer Rob Trzynski, who used to appear regularly on this show, I say parenthetically, for many times over the course of years. Listen to this, what Lefty Lurdo says. A former member of the Democrat-hating Tea Party. Did you hear that, Carol Thorpe? Did you hear that, Bill Hay? And I know both of them who were involved from the very inception of the Tea Party here in Central Virginia, and it could not be any further from the truth. This liar, Lefty Lurdo, has no idea what he's talking about. He probably doesn't even know who Carol Thorpe or Bill Hay are. The Democrat-hating Tea Party, but it doesn't stop there. Lynchburg-based Dr. Suzanne Krzyzanowski, a former card-carrying Republican, this guy just can't help himself, but a DSA connection for a Democrat running in a bright red congressional district could be a soft spot for a Republican adversary to plunge a dagger. Did you hear the language that he's using? The plunge a dagger. This is just outrageous, but it's what we would expect now of the far left, Democrat Socialist aligned or Communist aligned daily newspaper. The people that like to plunge daggers, well, even worse than that, shoot kids in their mother's arms and watch them die. That would be Jay Jones, Shoot 'em Up Jones, the Attorney General, who happens to be a Democrat and is a socialist. How ridiculous and how stupid do you think the readers are? Well, considering who might be reading the daily newspaper, I know some of you still subscribe, but you laugh at stuff like this. The actual readers probably see nothing wrong with that paragraph. Yeah, the Tea Party hates Democrats. They hate the Democrats. There actually were some Democrats who were caucusing with the Tea Party locally because they were fed up with being taxed enough already. And Republican John McGuire already regularly equates the Democrat Party with the larger socialist movement, which is absolutely true. There are clearly no differences between the Democrats and the socialists anymore. Go look at their platforms. What's different about it? At the daily newspaper, talking about the Democrat-hating Tea Party. Good grief. Plunging a dagger. The Republicans want to plunge daggers into Democrats. This guy's a joke, but he's also a deceiver and a liar, with all due respect. So they talk about McGuire equating the Democrats with a socialist movement, which is absolutely 100% true. Common sense versus communism. That's how McGuire posted it. And then Lefty Lurdo calls him, quote, a Trump ally. Did you ever hear him call anybody, or he wasn't around, but did you ever hear the leftists call anybody a Biden ally? These little words they tuck in there, you know what it's about. Both of Perriello's opponents in the Democrat primary took issue not with the presence of the DSA, which was out of the candidate's control, but rather Perriello's campaign decision on how to direct the media to cover the rally, as they rightfully should. I certainly will not tell anybody not to report something or to report something. That's up to the press, Krzyzanowski told the daily newspaper. Trzynski said he would be open to meeting with the Democrat Socialists. No journalist should ever be asked not to report something that's embarrassing to somebody. I'd be willing to meet with people at the DSA, even though I disagree with them, get them on board for defending democracy part of it, but I'm going to be open about it. That's the story. Good grief. So much in this one story by Lefty Lurdo.